Euromaxx highlights. And here's your host, Louise Houghton.
Hello everyone, welcome to a packed show coming to you from here by the Brandenburg Gate in Berlin. Let's take a look at what's on the programme today. Adventurous accommodation. We visit Europe's quirkiest hotels. Speedy stroll. Our reporter takes a brand new walking bike for a spin. And classics competition. This year's Concorso d'Eleganza features the cars of the stars. Now let me ask you, where do you look to stay when you go away for the night? A hotel with a pool? A campsite, or something a bit out of the ordinary? Well, we set off to find Europe's most quirky hotels and came across a room in a harbour crane, on a sea fort, and even in a silver mine. In fact, all of the 5 hotels we found are pretty unbelievable, but you need to have a deep pocket if you want to spend the night.
The Veralda Crane Hotel in the port of Amsterdam has to be one of Europe's most unusual hotels. It boasts 3 high-end suites located at a height of 45 meters. The rooms feature stylish furniture and stunning views.
This hotel certainly isn't for people who are afraid of heights. It's built so you can look all the way down from everywhere. Man, is this high? It makes me feel queasy.
Converting the old industrial crane into a design hotel cost around 3 million euros.
How nice.
It costs 435 euros to spend a night here, breakfast not included.
It's absurd. You're in a crane, but in here you forget the fact entirely because the hotel rooms are so beautifully furnished.
When darkness falls, the scenery changes, making a stay here a truly unforgettable experience. From scaling heights to plumbing depths, Sweden is home to the world's deepest underground hotel suite. It's situated 155 meters below ground in a former silver mine northwest of Stockholm. It's a chilly -2 degrees in the mine, so it's just as well the suite itself is heated. Dennis and Linda are impressed.
It shouldn't be comfortable, but it is.
In a strange way, I feel really calm.
Yeah.
Not stressed at all.
No, just really, really calm.
Yeah.
The hotel even offers room service. While a stay doesn't come cheap, it certainly is unique.
A hotel is a hotel. This is something completely different.
Yeah. Even if you've seen this from above, you have no idea what it's like down here.
The Mine Suite brings hotel accommodation to a whole new level. Back above ground in the Belgian town of Debuy, visitors can stay in a huge wooden horse.
It's a bit macabre that you enter the horse through the rear.
Oh, wow.
Wow, look how big it is. Cool.
Oh, cool.
Time to explore the second floor. Here, visitors find the dining and living area, as well as 2 more beds. There's also a balcony to step out onto. And on the 3rd floor, another surprise awaits Denise and Nadine.
I'm going to sit up here all night. The thing goes up. No, up and down. I have full control. You don't find a Trojan horse like this on every corner.
This hotel lies in the middle of the sea. Spitbank Fort was originally built to defend the entrance to the harbor of Portsmouth. Now it's a luxury island escape. Once, arms and gunpowder were stored here. But now it's a place of hospitality where guests can experience a night to remember.
Oh my goodness, look at that.
Wow.
Look at that. You wouldn't think it would be so big, would you?
There are 9 suites here. Each one is decorated in a different style.
I think it would fit both of us.
Yeah.
British entrepreneur Mike Clare bought the fort in 2009 for some 1.3 million euros. He invested another 4 million euros in converting the site into a luxury retreat.
Totally different from anything I'd expected. And I didn't think we'd still have these walls, the rough walls, and all these little sort of off rooms. I think it's marvellous.
A bizarre construction in the Austrian Alps. From the front, it resembles a bird. From the back, it's more like a UFO. And that's how it got its name, U-Vogel, literally U-bird in German.
It does look kind of like a bird.
The compact hotel can accommodate up to 8 people and prides itself on making guests feel comfortable and, most of all, at home.
The windows make it bright. It's cozy.
And there is underfloor heating, but Simon prefers to get a proper fire going.
This is great. Today was really relaxing. There was a lot to discover in the house. The night will be great too. I think I'll sleep well here.
The perfect place for nature fans who like their comforts.
If you wanted to get around town quickly but without using a car, which mode of transport would you choose? A bike or a scooter maybe? Well, there is a new invention in production and it's sparked tons of interest around the world already. It's called a Lopifit and it's basically a treadmill on wheels. It also goes faster than most other vehicles in the cycle lane. So our reporter Micah Kruger went to check it out.
This is me taking a relaxing stroll in Utrecht. I'm not at all in a hurry, but I'm still powering ahead. If you're bored from your treadmill in a boring fitness studio, why don't you take it out? I picked up my Lopifit walking bike a few hours earlier. Rob van Ooyen works for the manufacturer and showed me how it functions before I set out on my maiden voyage. Treading sets the bike in motion, but you're assisted by an electric motor. Why don't you just go out and take a walk?
This is a bike, we go faster. It's 25 kilometers an hour, so you get more distance with a Lopifit. It's more interesting than like normal walking.
The bike first hit the streets in 2014 and now it's taking off internationally, with a growing ridership in Europe, the US and South America. An American skateboarder and TV personality posted a video of the bike on his Facebook page. It's been viewed over 18 million times. Since then, it's become a runaway success, even in Qatar. Perhaps because regular cycling can be difficult in a rope, but with a Lopifit anything goes. The Dutch manufacturer is finding it hard to meet demand.
Yes, we have some problems. While we start producing at this moment, so we were not ready to sell it. That was the reason that, yeah, we get a lot of requests, but we are still producing.
Well, if everyone else can do it, so can I, right? In a study, they found that 30% get into gear immediately, while 10% have major difficulties getting off to a smooth start.
Whoa!
I'm with the 60% who need a few minutes.
I have to practice.
It's different than I thought, a lot faster. So, I've planned a full-day tour of the city. You don't need a license to drive a Lopifit, and helmets are not mandatory. While practicing on a country road, I find I can stop walking and still keep moving. Then it's back to the city.
Down the road I go.
I want to try out my newly acquired riding skills in downtown Utrecht. The Dutch are known as a nation of cyclists, but they're clearly not used to seeing a Lopifit on the street, so I find myself turning quite a few hats. After a while, I really get the hang of it, but I'm still drawing attention. I overtake most cyclists with ease, although I'm hardly making an effort at all. Then a few brave souls ask if they can have a go. Don't worry, it's not dangerous. As interest grows, I let more people have a go, even women in high heels. Locals and tourists alike are keen to jump on board.
And it's two different motions. It's a bit like doing...
Yeah. It's nice. It's nice to walk on a bike.
It's really good. It's really fast.
It's more difficult than I thought.
It's a little bit complicated.
Yeah, it takes some practice, but I certainly wouldn't be able to enjoy my ice cream as much on a normal bike.
This was possibly the fastest and in the same time the most comfortable walk of my life. It was really big fun.
Still, even with all the interest it's awakened, it's hard to imagine the Lopifit replacing the enduringly popular bicycle on the streets of the Netherlands.
Now, when it comes to insects, there are few who know them as intricately as Levon Bis. That is because the British photographer has been creating giant-sized images of these tiny creatures. To make them, Bis honed a microscopic photographic technique, and the resulting images are now on display in Oxford, England. If the visitors are as fascinated at each tiny detail as Bis is, then maybe the public will put aside their negative thoughts on insects and begin to see these creatures in a whole new light.
This is not gold foil. It's the wing of a South American bee, magnified 300 times. And although this might look like a leaf, it's actually the armor of a tropical treehopper. Insects, as we've never seen them before, each with its own surface structure. These images were taken by Levon Bis. He spent 2 years photographing the insects, and during that time, he developed a lot of respect for them.
That surprises me, how complicated these creatures are, and at the same time, how beautiful they are. We have this cliched idea of the creepy crawlies being horrible or scary, and you know, they're just not. You know, if you look at it, I don't think there's one single scary picture in this exhibition.
Bis named his exhibition Microsculpture. It opened on May 27th at the Oxford University Museum of Natural History. The museum has Britain's second largest insect collection, and Bis was given access to its archives. Entomologist James Hogan worked with Levon Bis to help him find especially beautiful examples.
We wanted to have specimens that were not too big, because in general, a lot of large insects have been photographed before, you know, and people are quite familiar with those kind of images. So the specimens were based on things that I knew had an interesting surface detail and would be interesting colours. So there's some insects that have really spectacular metallic colours, for example, which I knew would look amazing, you know, after Levon had photographed them.
Levon Bis took the insects to his studio in Wiltshire, where he began to experiment with microphotography. Before that, he was a professional advertising and sports photographer, a whole different world. The insect project made him rethink how he works.
If you think about it, you know, an eye, the dome structure of an insect, is a very different shape and texture and contours to a leg, which could be hairy. And so the way I work is I treat every single section like a small still life, and each section has its own bespoke lighting technique to make that one particular section look as beautiful as it possibly can.
Levon Bis combined 9,000 individual photos to produce the picture of the jewel beetle. Under the microscope, he moved the insect 10 micrometers at a time, a seventh of the width of a hair. It took him 3 days to take the series of pictures. A sterile workplace was top priority.
You know, the tiniest amount of dust on these creatures comes up huge in the pictures. So you have to have quite a sterile environment, and they have to be cleaned properly beforehand.
The photographer put the pictures together on a computer. Working with this complex jigsaw puzzle paid off. He was able to create incredible close-ups. Each hair of the beetle can be clearly distinguished. Levon Bis's photos show the structure of the beetle's body and let us explore a new world.
insects are around us all the time. You see them all the time, but you don't really see them. It's only when you go all the way in that you can understand how beautiful these creatures are.
To enable this close-up view, the pictures were printed as posters up to 3 meters in length. Special printers from London were used to handle the huge amount of data. Back at Oxford's Museum of Natural History, the photographer and the entomologist both hope the show will get people interested in these insects.
As well. So this will have some kind of function.
I want them to have a newfound respect for these creatures, to look at them in amazement and, you know, be astonished by them and, you know, fall in love with them.
I hope that it will encourage people to study insects as well, not just appreciate them, but, you know, to study them because they're just fabulous, really.
Microsculpture will be on show in Oxford through August. After that, the exhibition goes on a world tour so that people in other countries can also view the insects with new eyes.
Time now for a look at the architectural form known as Brutalism. This was the name given to raw concrete block buildings, and brutal is how some saw this design. Plain, grey, old and ugly. But there are others who view it as cool, urban and a perfect backdrop for advertisements.
Can plain, rough concrete be sexy? It certainly figures a lot these days in fashion ads. Massive geometrical forms in grey can be dramatic. Though the term sounds scary, brutalism is in again. Brutalist architecture emerged in the 1950s and survived into the 1970s. It always met with mixed reviews.
Its distinctive aesthetic provokes both love and hatred. Indifference is not an option.
Robin Hood Gardens is a London housing estate designed by Alison and Peter Smithson. It was completed in 1972. Today, many of the flats in the rundown complex stand empty. There are redevelopment plans, but the authorities say the estate does not merit listing as a heritage site. Architect Carl Sharrow says that's a good thing.
So the people over here suffered from the lack of investment and maintenance of the building, but also the building itself created a lot of the problems that could have been resolved with better design. Demolishing it now will provide us for an opportunity to continue the ideas that created this building in the first place.
Famous architects, including Zaha Hadid and Richard Rogers, campaigned to save the complex, and many residents have fought as well. The arguments are aesthetic, social, and political. The estate was a valuable example of public sector housing, with gardens and community building facilities. The pro-preservation campaign lost, but triggered a lively debate.
What has happened is people have realised that it doesn't mean it's architecture that is brutal, that it's architecture that's really honest about its use of materials, that it's incredibly sculptural, that it relates to quite a lot of the art of the same period, and that it's architecture that really wants to be kind of imaginative and different.
London was once a hotbed of brutalism. This is the Royal National Theatre. But brutalism was an international phenomenon. The aesthetics were radical, and the social agenda was too. Many of the buildings have not aged well, but if they're well maintained and in a good location, they can be good places to live.
And the Barbican estate here in the centre of London is a real example of how brutalist architecture can work. I mean, that's a private estate, flats there are very, very expensive, and people who live there are incredibly enthusiastic about it.
There is an online international community of brutalism lovers. The SOS Brutalism website hosts a growing database of buildings. The German Architecture Museum in Frankfurt is planning an exhibition. In Britain, the Brutalism Appreciation Society has 40,000 followers on Facebook. Bloggers in the US are also singing the praises of the genre.
It is easy to find it cool. There is a lot of positive chatter on the web. It is big and raw. It speaks to our instincts, perhaps to our baser instincts. It is, after all, brutal. It is one thing to be popular on the internet, and another to be acknowledged and appreciated by society.
Stanley Kubrick certainly appreciated it as a dystopian nightmare landscape in his 1971 film A Clockwork Orange. That could be considered a contemporary critique. Nowadays, brutalist architecture has been tamed and harnessed by haute couture. Its buildings now figure as decoration on consumer goods. Has a once bold vision decayed into a lifestyle motif?
It becomes like a black and white poster that you hang on the wall and to show that you have good taste, but you have no connection to the ideas and the philosophy that brought it around. And I think this is something quite a serious cultural shift that we need to oppose.
Admirers say brutalist architecture deserves to be taken seriously. Many hope the major show at the German Architecture Museum next year might help to set the record straight.
Well, talking of shows, we finish off today with the most glamorous show of classic cars, the Concorso d'Eleganza. It takes place each year at Lake Como and has been running since 1929. And for those who don't know, it is the place to be if you love classic cars, movie stars and a good old competition.
Magnificent cars from every era of motoring and their proud owners. That's the Concorso d'Eleganza, a kind of beauty pageant for automobiles. The event took place at Villa d'Este on Lake Como. One of the highlights this year was the competition category Cars of the Stars. Here, vintage cars that once belonged to movie stars vie for top place. Like this Ferrari 275 GTB.
This car was delivered new in 1967 to Steve McQueen, the Hollywood legend. It was painted at the factory in a standard factory colour called Nocciola, which is a hazelnut gold colour, which when Steve saw the car, he hated it. So his preferred paint shop at the time mixed a colour dubbed Chianti Red, which was approved by Steve.
McQueen had the sports car with a 300 horsepower engine kitted out according to his taste. For instance, aluminum spoke wheels.
And he also transferred this unique but quite useless rear view wing mirror. He was a one-off and he liked one-offs, he liked things that were unique, special. The car was offered by RM Auctions in Monterey, California 2 years ago. We bid on the car and were lucky to be successful and brought it to the UK.
This unique car costs some 12 million euros. A Ferrari 275 GTB is never cheap since only 280 were ever made. But the fact that Steve McQueen once owned this one raised its price to 4 times what others usually cost.
It's nice to be out on the open road in the McQueen 4Cam. Unfortunately, we won't be able to drive it quite as hard as he used to drive it around California.
The jury at the Concorso d'Eleganza aren't impressed that an automobile was once owned by a celebrity.
That doesn't change the judgment. We judge the cars, not the history of each car. Because this is Marcello Mastroianni. I don't know. It's difficult to say if this is more important than the other one.
This 1966 Ferrari 330 was once the favorite car of Italian film legend Marcello Mastroianni. Right next to it is a Jaguar XK120 from 1952. It belonged to American actor Clark Gable, the king of Hollywood.
Some were motorsports enthusiasts, like Steve McQueen. Clark Gable was more of an old-school Hollywood star. Glamour was important, it had to be a little sporty, yet still suitable for the red carpet.
Each year, the international jet set meets at the Concorso d'Eleganza. Clark Gable would certainly feel at home here, but in the end, the jury picked another car. McQueen's Ferrari 275 GTB. Would Steve have felt at home here too?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Who wouldn't? Who wouldn't? By the side of Lake Como, the beautiful Villa d'Este Hotel, surrounded by petrol heads and some of the most beautiful cars ever produced.
This year's Concorso d'Eleganza benefited from a bit of Hollywood celebrity. And the cars on display were just as glamorous as the films of Hollywood's golden era.
Well, that glamorous note has brought us to the end of the show for today. Thanks for tuning in, and until next week, take care. Bye-bye for now.